Hello everyone, I am Be Better Gamer. Welcome to Be Better Gamer Wrestling. This channel is dedicated to the classic series of N64 wrestling games developed by Aki Corporation, such as WCW vs. NWO World Tour, WCW NWO Revenge, WrestleMania 2000, No Mercy, Virtual Pro Wrestling 64, and Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, my personal favorite of this series. I am bringing you a Let's Play of Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. I am in G1 Climax mode, much like last year. I did a special G1 Climax series of videos. Actually, it's kind of like a bittersweet thing to think about because I I started it in the summer and I didn't finish it until the end of the year. So I'm not doing that this year. I'm not doing a whole 3-part series. I'm only doing one video based on the G1 Climax. I decided to take every single wrestler that's in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 that made it to the finals of the G1 Climax from 1991, which is when the G1 Climax started, until 1999. So that's what you're going to be watching today. You're going to be watching me playing. I'm playing as Masahiro Chono. I'm playing on the expert difficulty. And pretty much everyone that was in the finals, with the exception of Rick Rude, because he's not in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. And I'll get into his finals appearance in a bit. But everyone that's in it, so it's a total of 10 wrestlers, and I'm going to play until I win. I'm not going to spoil it and say, how far I get if I go undefeated, but I am going to play till I win. Right now I'm playing against Power Warrior, aka Kensuke Sasaki. I'm using his Power Warrior outfit because he made his appearance in the 1994 G1 Climax. It was actually Kensuke Sasaki's first appearance in the G1, and he was the Power Warrior. The Power Warrior gimmick, if you remember, back in the I want to say AWA, he used to team up with, and also the NWA, he also did it there also. He used to team up with the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, and he was Power Warrior. It was part of his excursion from New Japan. Japanese wrestlers, after they do their initial set of training in Japan, they usually get sent abroad, either to Mexico or the States or Europe, and that was Kensuke Sasaki's excursion, and he was rolling around with the Power Warriors. He got really big, really muscular, came back to Japan, and he was, one of the hottest people to come back to Japan, and he ran for a while as Power Warrior, and then eventually settled as Kensuke Sasaki. So he is a tough guy to face in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. You've seen him make an appearance when I did another G1 Climax video. I've done a bunch of G1 Climax Let's Plays, actually. I love the G1 Climax. It's my favorite tournament. I'm going to talk about, the history of these competitors in the G1 Climax in this video, but I'm also going to talk about the current upcoming G1 Climax, which is why I labeled the Let's Play, the 2016 G1 Climax preview and predictions, because I am going to get into talking that, but I got to talk about Kensuke Sasaki real quick because I'm facing him as Chono, and he's made a bunch of appearances in my other G1 Climax. He actually spoiled my 1999 G1 Climax Let's Play when I was trying to recreate Manabu Nakanishi's victory, because you can recreate the entire 99 Climax. Everyone who was in that G1 Climax is in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, so it's one of the few G1s that you can recreate perfectly, and he spoiled it. He spoiled me winning that one. I lost several times in that one. I lost to Shiro Koshinaka and I lost to Muto, but if I didn't lose to Kensuke Sasaki, I probably would have won it. So he's definitely, and I think he beat me in another G1 Climax video, actually. So it's only fitting that I face him first, and he definitely gives me a run for my money here. I think giving him the Power Warrior outfit definitely motivated him to definitely stop me early. But he made it to the finals. He actually faced Masahiro Chono. This was the 1994 finals of the G1. This was Kensuke Sasaki's first appearance, but this was Chono's third time winning the G1 Climax. I'm going to talk about his earlier victories in a bit, but when he beat Power Warrior, when he beat Kensuke Sasaki, that was his third time winning the G1 Climax in 4 years. He won the first two. He didn't win 1993, and he won 1994. So Chono, needless to say, was dominant in the early years of the G1 Climax, and he would also make another appearance later on in the later years of the finals of the G1 Climax, and go on to win it twice more in the 2000s era. You know, from 2000 to 2010, he would win it 2 times. Chono has won the most G1 Climax tournaments. So I'm going to talk about a little bit more about that later on, talking about Chono's victories and stuff, but I want to talk about the upcoming 2016 G1 Climax. It's the 26th G1 Climax. If you've probably watched my other videos, or if you know a lot about the G1 Climax already, it wasn't always called the G1 Climax Tournament. New Japan Pro Wrestling have been doing an annual tournament every year since the 70s, basically. The first one was held in 1974, and every year or so they had different names. It was called the World League originally, then the MSG League, then the International Wrestling Grand Prix for a few years. In 1989, it was called the World Cup, and then they took a hiatus in 1990, and when they came back in 91, it was the G1 Climax. And traditionally, the G1 Climax, think of it kind of like the King of the Ring, or at least how the King of the Ring used to be, except that it's mostly done in a round-robin format. I mean, it's pretty much done almost every year in a round-robin format. There was a few years where it wasn't held in a round-robin format, and actually those few years were in the 90s. It was a single elimination tournament in 92, 93, 97, and 98, and those were the only times it was single elimination. So after the first decade, no more single elimination tournaments. It was always round-robin, and originally the tournaments were kind of small. You know, you had about 8 people, 10 people in the tournament. Wasn't really a lot of people until later on, where like everyone's in it. You know, I mean, this year alone they have how many? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. They have 20 people in the tournament this year, which is crazy. Last year they had a lot too. So in the original early years, it was a smaller tournament, but now it's become such a big thing. And since 2012, the winner of the G1 Climax tournament gets a contract to wrestle for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Kingdom, which is the Tokyo Dome show, which is basically like New Japan's WrestleMania now. You know, every year since forever, since like the 90s, they've been doing the Tokyo Dome show, and since 2012, the winner has faced the championship. So think of it almost like a combination of the King of the Ring and Money in the Bank, you know, because they have this contract. And the reason why I say contract is because they can lose it. It's not guaranteed like the Royal Rumble, even though sometimes the Royal Rumble even wasn't guaranteed. If you would win it, you would be in the main event or fight for the championship. There's been several exceptions to that rule, but at least with New Japan, they put in it like, you know, you have to defend your contract. So usually the winner of the G1 Climax has 1 or 2 big more matches before the Tokyo Dome show, where they are defending their chance, because it would be kind of silly if you think about it. You have this long tournament that spans over almost 3 weeks, and then the person who wins it, you know, he becomes winless after that. You know, he loses it, then why should he still get that right? You know, really sets up the challenger for the title at the Tokyo Dome show as being the best in New Japan, arguably at that time. You know, that's the idea, that's the mentality of it. So that's why the G1 Climax is such a big deal in Japan, and it's always been kind of a big deal, but it wasn't until recently, I feel like, that with that added stipulation, I mean, it just gave it a little bit more of the weight to it. I'm going to talk about a lot of the times, because usually the G1 Climax tournament did challenge for the title, and it was very interesting to see how often that would happen, whether it be right after the G1 Climax or right before the Tokyo Dome show, or even at the Tokyo Dome show. It was very rare. I'm facing Kazuya Yamazaki right now. I gave him an alternate edit also. I wanted to reflect his appearance in the 1998 G1 Climax. This was also one of the years where it was a single elimination tournament. It was a 16-man single elimination tournament, and that would be the last time it would ever be single elimination. By the time the 98 tournament came around, Tatsumi Fujinami was the IWGP champion, and he actually defeated Kensuke Sasaki for the championship. So that's a little interesting. I just fought Sasaki. Yamazaki defeated Fujinami in the first round. He defeated Fujinami, who was the champion. Now, this is something I should also say, if you're not familiar with the G1 tournament, is that the champion always wrestles, or not always, but usually wrestles in the tournament. So that adds a little bit more prestige also if you can beat the champion in the tournament. How cool is that? I love the G1. So great. Fujinami actually would lose the title to Chono, right? Get this, on August 8th, 1998, a few days after the ending of the G1 Climax, of the 1998 G1 Climax. So I mentioned that because I had previously said, Chono, he won out of the first 4 years, he won 3 of them. And he never was able to capture the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Junior Heavyweight. I'm still in my Junior Heavyweight mode from last month. He was never able to capture the IWGP Heavyweight Championship until 1998. And this is when Chono was like bad Chono, when he was heel Chono. You know what I mean? When he was, NWO Chono and all that stuff. The way I'm playing with him now is a reflection of that. But early Chono, he was a good guy, actually, if you could believe it. And he only held it for 44 days before having to vacate the title because of a neck injury. He had a serious neck injury coming from neck problems that he had early in his career. So he had to take time off and get surgery done and give up the championship. But Kazuya Yamazaki, he made it all the way to the end of the tournament. He faced Shinya Hashimoto, and Hashimoto would win the tournament, and he would face Scott Norton for the championship in the end of October. And Norton was actually the person who won the championship after Chono had to vacate it. So Chono vacated it. Norton won a tournament. I believe he beat Yuji Nagata, and then Hashimoto, the winner of the 98 tournament, faced Norton. It was a really crazy year with the G1 because there was so many title changes around the G1, and then you had Chono's injury. You got to believe that they were probably setting up for Chono against Shinya Hashimoto. That would have been a great match. Or maybe even not. Maybe they were setting up for Chono and Keiji Muto, because what ended up happening at the Tokyo Dome show, Norton ended up facing Muto for the championship. So Hashimoto challenged Norton, didn't win the match. He lost via countout, and then that was it. And then Hashimoto would go on and have an infamous match with Naoya Ogawa at the 1999 Tokyo Dome show. So I want to definitely talk about that incursion one day, the infamous Hashimoto and Ogawa feud. But yeah, that's a little bit about the 98 tournament with Yamazaki. A lot of stuff happened. Yamazaki would retire that year also. He would retire at the 1999 Tokyo Dome show. So you got to believe his appearance in the finals of the Tokyo of the G1 Climax maybe was because he was retiring and they knew it. Sometimes there's a lot of stories that happens in the G1. A lot of stories, whether it be rivalries that are renewed, rivalries from long ago that happen again in the G1, rivalries that are ongoing, dream matchups that might never happen ever again. Last year we had Nakamura and AJ Styles. No, that's not true. That wasn't at the G1. That was at the Tokyo Dome show. But we had we always have like a dream match or some special match that has been put off for a long time, and now two guys are finally meeting. And then you also have sometimes the old veteran or the guy who's making one last stand. You gotta believe Yamazaki was, played that role that year. This year, it's Tenzan, and let's go ahead and talk about the 2016 tournament, what's happening. So you have in Block A, if you don't already know, I'm going to go through it really quickly, but all this stuff you can find online about who's going to be in it and who they are. I'll go into a little bit details about some of the guys, but if you want more information about who's in the tournament, I definitely encourage you to do your research about every one of these competitors, because this year's G1 Climax, no joke, is going to be really good. I'm probably more excited about this G1 than I was last year. And last year I was super excited about it. So that only goes to show you how good this year's tournament's going to be. I didn't think they were going to top last year's, but with the in terms of just the entrance alone. But this year you have in Block A, you have Bad Luck Fale, Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, Togi Makabe, Naomichi Marufuji, all right? That's a big deal, from Pro Wrestling Noah. Kazuchika Okada, the current IWGP champion. Sonata, all right, coming in. He's part of Los Ingobernables, and he's coming in his G1 appearance. Hiroshi Tanahashi is back. He had to skip the Dominion event against his match with Kenny Omega because of shoulder injury, but now he's going to be the G1. That's very exciting. Tenzan replacing Kojima, because Kojima was originally announced and Tenzan wasn't announced in the tournament, and he was kind of upset about that. And then Kojima gave him his spot a couple of weeks later. And Tama Tonga, and that's very relevant because Tenzan's been in it forever. I mean, he holds the record for being in the G1 Climax the most times, and he's been in it the most consecutively. You're talking about a guy who's been in the G1 Climax how many years now straight? I think 19 or something like that. And he's won it a few times too. So, you know, it's a big deal when he wasn't announced, even though he's an older wrestler and he's definitely way past his prime. Not having Tenzan in it, he's kind of a staple in it now. You know, it's like Undertaker. It's like Undertaker showing up at WrestleMania. You know he's gonna be there. You know what I mean? That's Tenzan. 19 years being in the G1 Climax straight. That's insane. And so he's in it. He's definitely gonna play, I think, the Yamazaki role, even the role that maybe Ricky Choshu. I expect Tenzan to probably get more victories than people are expecting him. And Block A is a tough block to be in. You know, speaking of tough, I don't know if you've been watching this match. I know I have while I've been talking, and me and Yamazaki are going at it. I mean, he's definitely put up a hell of a fight, and I expect to see that kind of performance from Tenzan. You know, just this veteran who just won't back down, who won't give up, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great to see him working against guys like Sonata, Bad Luck Fale, Tama Tonga. This is his first year also. That's a good thing for him. But you got Marufuji in it. Come on, that's gonna be amazing. You're gonna have Marufuji against Okada, Marufuji against Tanahashi, Marufuji against Sonata, like all these against Ishii. Ishii is gonna take on Okada. You know, stablemates going at it. Goto going up against Okada again. You know, a lot of great stories already formulating in Block A. Definitely a focus on the top players of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, Block B has a lot going for it also. You have Michael Elgin, the current IWGP Intercontinental Champion. Evil, he's in it, making his first appearance. Tomoki Hanma returns, actually getting a victory last year's tournament against Ishii. Yuji Nagata, Tetsuya Naito, all right, the leader of Los Ingobernables. Katsuhiko Nakajima from Noah, another surprise entrant that got a lot of people excited. I'm excited. Kenny Omega is in it, ladies and gentlemen. He's not a junior anymore. Katsuyori Shibata. I love me some Shibata. He was actually my favorite to win it last year, and he didn't win it, but he's looking a lot stronger this time. You know, he's the current Never champion, and he just came off of a great feud with Nagata. Nagata and him are in the same block, so we're gonna see another great match from them. But he's definitely one of my strong favorites. I don't know if he's as strong as my favorite as he was last year to win it. Him and Nakamura were my two guys to win it last year, but that was completely way off. Tanahashi won it again. But Shibata's up there. I would say he's top 3 to win it. Toru Yano is going to be in it. And Yoshihashi, ladies and gentlemen, finally Yoshihashi, the underdog of this tournament. Definitely a fan favorite. You know, it's like Zack Ryder entering the G1 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, they probably have no chance of winning it, but you're just happy to see them, and you're waiting for that moment where it just turns around for them and they become these superstars that you want them to be. And Yoshihashi definitely has a great fan following in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's really cool to see him, especially to stick him in the block where it's going to be him against Hanma, because Hanma all these years, you know, him not getting a win, that's going to be a great story to see who gets the win in the G1 Climax. So it's going to be a fun block. But, you know, Michael Elgin, oh my goodness, Michael Elgin made his debut last year's tournament. Now, speaking of Rick Rude, let's go back to Rick Rude. So Rick Rude, who is not in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, man, look at him, he's trying to break my arm outside. Yamazaki is just destroying me right now with all these specials. But he keeps doing them outside, so that's actually a good thing on my end because I can't tap out outside. So he's and I took off count out. I took off count out because I noticed in the past G1 episodes, I've left count out on, and I've also put the time limit, and that was causing a lot of ties with the time limit and the countouts. I had a feeling some people were losing via countouts, and like it's always silly to see. So I figured I'd take the count out just so that, and I take off the time limit just so that the computers wouldn't really go to these ties, or people wouldn't lose matches. Make it a more balanced, more competitive G1. At least that was my initial idea. And it would also mean that it would also put a little bit more, encouragement for me not to lose the G1 or any match in the G1, because then the computer would be able to come back and win it. But Yamazaki is just destroying me right now. I don't know what it is. He wants it. First, I thought I was going to have trouble with Sasaki, and I was able to put him away kind of unexpectedly, but I'm going to take it. I'm going to take that victory against Sasaki, and now Yamazaki is just, I'm going to trip him. Flex the arms. The arms still work. The guns still work. Taking him outside. I'm going to turn the tables on him. Use my comeback special, my fighting spirit against him. So in the 1992 finals with Chono and Rick Rude, okay, this was a special tournament. So this was also a 16-man elimination. Remember, this was the second year they did the G1. It was also for the vacant NWA World Heavyweight Championship. How cool is that, huh? So you had a lot of guys from NWA and WCW in the tournament, such as Arn Anderson, Steve Austin was in the tournament, Barry Windham, Bam Bam Bigelow, and obviously Rick Rude. And this was after the whole Ric Flair, real world champion angle. They stripped Ric Flair of the title because he jumped ship to WWF, and he was still the NWA world champion at the time. So it created that whole big controversy. One of my most memorable moments as a kid growing up was Ric Flair showing up in the WWF. It always stuck with me. But as a result of him being stripped, they had this tournament, or actually they used the G1 tournament as sort of a combination. It's like, hey, you got this G1 tournament, and we have this great working relationship with you right now, New Japan. Let's do this added stipulation and put the NWA World Championship on the line. So it ended up being Rick Rude and Masahiro Chono, last year's winner of the tournament, in the finals. Great match, fantastic match. Go watch it on New Japan World. They have all the finals matches actually from 91 to 99, so that's awesome. They don't have all of them from 2000 and 2009, but at least you can get all the 90s finals tournaments. I highly recommend that match. And Rick Rude, the Gaijin, he would be the first Gaijin to reach the finals. Obviously, it was only 2 years, but it wouldn't happen again until Carl Anderson in 2012. So what is that, 20 years later, until a Gaijin, a non-Japanese wrestler, makes it to the finals of the G1 Climax. And it all started with Rick Rude. It's crazy to think about. But Masahiro Chono would win, and he would hold on to the NWA World Championship and defend it against Keiji Muto, who was the great Muta at the time, at the Tokyo Dome show, in one of the main events, not the final match of the night, but one of the main events. And that was a big thing too, because Keiji Muto and Masahiro Chono faced each other in the finals of the 91 G1 Climax. That was the first ever G1 Climax finals, was Muto and Chono, but he wasn't great Muta, he was Muto. And if you know about Great Muta and Keiji Muto, I don't need to explain it more. If you don't know about that, Google it, Wikipedia it, because it's great. Keiji Muto's great, and the Great Muta. But they would face each other, champion versus champion. Keiji Muto would be IWGP champion by that point, and they would face each other at the Tokyo Dome show in a very hyped match, and a very great match too. And you want to say that was the first time they met, title versus title, but actually, if you go on the WWE Network and you look up Starrcade 92, you can catch a match. This was right before the 93 Tokyo Dome show, okay? Because this is about a week before the Tokyo Dome show. Chono faced Muto at Starrcade 92. and Chono put his NWA championship on the line against Muto, who was the IWGP champion, but he didn't put his title on the line, and Chono beat him at Starrcade. So that's very interesting. That's very cool to see. Highly recommend you go watching that, because a lot of the early Japanese crossovers with WCW is really cool, and it's really cool to see that stuff on the network. So I highly recommend go seeing that. But that was the fallout of the 92 G1 Climax, was Chono, NWA champion, facing Muto. Muto would win at the Tokyo Dome show, but then he would lose the NWA championship shortly after to Barry Windham at Super Brawl 3, which is also on the WWE network. So if you don't have New Japan World, at least you can watch some of these matches on the network that took place stateside with guys like Keiji Muto and Great Muta. So that's really cool. So I mentioned Rick Rude, I mentioned Carl Anderson, who's now in the WWE as part of the club. I mentioned that because you got Michael Elgin. He's my dark horse to win the tournament. I know he's probably not going to win the tournament. I know he's not, but looking at the block he's in, a lot of people want Naito to win, and definitely Naito is a strong favorite to win the tournament. He probably will win Block B, but Michael Elgin has been putting in some serious work since his appearance last time in G1 Climax, and he's now officially with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I love Michael Elgin and the work he's been doing, and the match he had with Kenny Omega. Michael Elgin came in for Hiroshi Tanahashi. He's been forming a partnership, a relationship with him, and when he got injured, he stood up to take on Kenny Omega in a ladder match. It was New Japan's first ever ladder match, and honestly, I've been watching wrestling all my life. I've been watching wrestling since I was 5. I turned 30 in a couple of weeks, and the Michael Elgin Kenny Omega ladder match was probably the best ladder match I've ever seen. I know I speak in hyperbole a lot, but it really was one of the best ladder matches I've ever seen. I'm comparing even the TLC matches, okay? I'm talking about ladder matches from WWE, WCW, ECW. Hands down, I think Elgin and Kenny Omega deserve to be at the top of the list when it comes to greatest ladder matches of all time. Michael Elgin's been putting on some serious work. I expect him to rank high in the G1 Climax. I kind of want him to win it, or at least make it into the finals. I mean, I don't know him. I don't see him main eventing the Tokyo Dome show. Let's be honest. I mean, him against Okada, that'd be kind of neat, but I don't think there's anything there yet to really make it too hyped. But I kind of want to see him in the finals, and if he makes the finals, he'll be the third Gaijin to make the finals after Rick Rude and Carl Anderson. So that's another story that could play out. I'm facing Manabu Nakanishi. I'm pretty much almost all the way through my match with Manabu Nakanishi. I talked about him a lot in the 1999 G1 Climax episode, so go check that out. But real quick, if you haven't seen it, when he won the G1 Climax, he defeated Keiji Muto. Muto was the IWGP champion at the time, and I talked about how the champions of the tournament are usually in the champions of the year, I should say, are usually in the G1 Climax tournament, and Muto actually would win the G1 Climax in 1995, and he was also IWGP champion at that time, so he'd be the first to win the tournament as IWGP champion 5 years after the tournament had began, and he would reappear in the finals of the G1 Climax against Manabu Nakanishi, but he would lose. Manabu Nakanishi would make him tap to the torture rack, and Kazuma Yamazaki, who made it to the finals of the 98 tournament, we just talked about that, he got 0 points that following year. So that's very interesting. That happens sometimes. Sometimes people go on bad, but then Yamazaki would retire. So that would go. That happens some years. You'd have guys who put up 0 points even though they made a strong showing the year before, or they would put up 0 points and then make a strong showing the next year. It's Michael Elgin. He only put up a few points last year, but I think he might do double of what he did last year. Yuji Nagata made his debut in the 1999 tournament. Yuji Nagata is in this year's tournament, one of the few people from this decade. Who we got? We got Tenzan and Yuji Nagata, pretty much. That's it, that are in this year's tournament that are playable characters in virtual pro wrestling too. And Yuji Nagata is another great story. You know, his feud with Shibata, you know, him taking the Never title away from Shibata after Shibata had beaten Kojima and Tenzan. You know, Nagata showing that he still has a whole lot of, you know, fuel left in his tank. Nagata definitely one of the greatest wrestlers to ever be in New Japan Pro Wrestling, a WCW NW Revenge alumni. I'm looking forward to Nagata going up against Shibata. I'm looking forward for Nagata going up against guys like Nakajima. Nakajima's in the tournament, people. If you don't know who Nakajima is, you guys probably don't follow Noah, or you haven't just been really aware of what's been going on, you know, and that's okay, that's fine. But Nakajima is one of the stars of Noah. He started out as a junior heavyweight, almost similar to how Yuji Nagata started, and he's been making up his way up the ranks, competing more as a heavyweight. And you know, Nagata and Shibata is going to be great, but I think Shibata and Nakajima is going to be one of the highlights of the whole tournament. These guys have a little bit of a history, and their styles are definitely going to mesh well together, so I'm looking forward to that. You know, in Block B, Michael Elgin coming in as champion, as IWGP champion, is going to see. It's going to be interesting to see him have a rematch with Kenny Omega. That's going to be interesting, but it's also going to see how he does against guys like Shibata now. It's champion versus champion. That's what's amazing about the G1 Climax. I mean, just think if they did something like this at the WWE. I think about it all the time. I think about King of the Ring. Growing up, King of the Ring was one of my favorite events. I used to love the King of the Ring. It meant so much to me. I don't know why. Just this idea of like, who's the best wrestler right now? You know what I mean? Like, that's how I always imagined King of the Ring was trying to tell the story. And obviously, you know, the early King of the Rings with Bret Hart winning it had a lasting impact on me because I was such a big fan of Bret Hart. But over the years, I would say probably around the early 2000s, King of the Ring kind of lost its luster. And then they stopped doing them after that. Even if you look back at like the 2000 King of the Ring when Kurt Angle won, which is definitely a great little check in his checklist of having the great first year ever of any wrestler. His wins weren't really all that great. They were very short. The matches were very short, and didn't even main event the event, you know, the evening. You know, and that's why I love the G1 Climax, because the G1 Climax is such a big deal. And the finals is such a big deal. Speaking of another big deal finals, we got Riki Choshu up. Now, Riki Choshu actually beat Masahiro Chono in the 1996 G1 Climax. And this was a G1 Climax definitely where you had that veteran story being told. And it was mainly setting up, I think, Choshu and Hashimoto for the Tokyo Dome Show finals. Hashimoto was the champion during the tournament. He beat Nobuhiko Takada, who had won it at the previous Tokyo Dome Show. And Choshu beat Hashimoto in the tournament, and they were having a little bit of a rivalry. And this was the first. This would be the first time after Choshu won the tournament in 1996. It would be the first time that the G1 Climax winner faced the IWGP champion at Tokyo Dome Show. I'm not counting Masahiro Chono and Keiji Muto because that was kind of different circumstances, and it was a title versus title, but it wasn't also the last match of the card. When I talk main event, I'm talking about the last match of the evening. So Chono and Muta, it was definitely the winner of the G1 Climax facing the champion, but it wasn't the last match. It wasn't, in my eyes, the main event. I know people like to say, no, you can have more than one main event. Yeah, you can, but the last match is supposed to be the most important match. You save the best for last, you know? The last match isn't always the best match of any event. I mean, history has proven that repeatedly. You know, the last match of any WrestleMania doesn't mean it's going to be the best WrestleMania match, but it's supposed to be the most important. That's what the story, you know, the writers want you to believe. Doesn't end up always being the case because the performers try to go out there and steal the show from the last match. So, but this was the first time where Choshu, Hashimoto, they were the last match of the Tokyo Dome Show. And this was interesting too because the 1989 tournament, which was the World Tournament, right before it turned into G1. Choshu won that year, and that was the first time he won it, and it was a big deal because Choshu was always seen as one of those, if Antonio Inoki wasn't winning all the time, Choshu was definitely like one of the biggest stars of New Japan. So for him to win that tournament was great, But then he wouldn't win it until 1998. I'm not 1998. 1996 against Masahiro Chono, and Choshu would lose to Shinya Hashimoto at the tournament. Now, Shinya Hashimoto having beating him in the 1990. In losing to Choshu in the 1989 tournament. So it was kind of like a parallel of what happened in the 1989 tournament in 96, although this time Shinya Hashimoto would win and would solidify himself as the top, guy in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Unfortunately, Shinya Hashimoto's career didn't last too much longer after that because he passed away at such an early age, but it was definitely an epic moment, epic build up to that, and I think that was like one of the first times they really used the G1 Climax. I mean, it was Choshu. Choshu was an icon. It was, he was a legend, and they really used that to set up the G1 Climax winner facing the IWGP champion at the Tokyo Dome show. So it was a big bit of foreshadowing, if you will. I'm giving Choshu all these STFs, but he won't go down. Talk about fighting spirit. I'm definitely underestimating this legend, this veteran right now. He's definitely trying to hang in there. He's grabbing the leg. I always thought it was interesting that the STF hurts the leg more. I don't know. It seems like one of those moves that just hurts everything. The STF, yeah, you're hooking the leg and you're grapevining in, but then you're coming around and you're also hooking the neck or you're hooking the face, depending on how you're doing it. Chono used to have so many different variations for the STF. But it always looked like it hurt everything. I guess because, it's a game, they have to pick what body part it hurts the most. So they go for the leg, which makes sense, I guess. But I don't know. I could have easily gone with the head at this, but I'm still working on Choshu. Does he tap here? I got him right in the middle of the ring. Yes, he does. Finally. Putting Choshu away. These are some hard-fought matches. So far, none of these matches have been easy for me. I'm not going to lie. I've definitely been very aware playing these matches. Very hyper-aware of what the computer is doing. Trying my best. Trying to go completely with, without a loss in this tournament. I always like doing that. I always like challenging myself. I mean, when you're fighting the computer on expert over and over again, it becomes like kind of an endurance run. But the only downside is that then you become so far ahead of the points. Right now Yamazaki and I are tied. And he's so far giving me the most difficulty. So it'd be interesting to see if he can keep that with me. I'm looking at all the different points right now. Everyone's tied at 4, though. My plan is kind of backfiring. I wanted, the wins and losses to be a little bit more fair. I didn't want any ties so that the point spread could be a little bit more competitive. But now, everyone's tied because of that. It's just, I guess it's just the luck of the draw. It's just how it's all played out. But yeah, so, who are my favorites this year to win it? Speaking of Shinya Hashimoto, here he comes. Like I said, Michael Elgin is definitely one of my favorites to win it. Man, that Block B is going to be so competitive. I loved the, best of the Super Junior tournament this year because, Block A was kind of very predictable in a way. Not going to lie. I mean, there was a lot of good matches in Block A, but Kushida was obviously winning that block. And you kind of want to say the same thing about Block A here. I mean, for Okada not to win it, he would have to be knocked out of the tournament by probably the winner of the tournament, I would imagine. Would it be Marufuji? Will we get Marufuji and Okada at the Tokyo Dome show? That'd be kind of crazy. And then what if Marufuji goes back to Noah and, happens, hey, I'm gonna win the GHC championship while I'm at it, and then it's gonna be champion versus champion. That'd be kind of cool. He's done it before. He'll do it again. But I don't know. So Okada, Tanahashi's gonna, Tanahashi and Okada, can I just say, I can never get tired of them facing each other. And they've main evented the Tokyo Dome show several times, and they've had epic matches at the Tokyo Dome show. They've only faced each other once at the G1 Climax. And the last time they faced each other at the G1 Climax, they went to a 30-minute draw. So there's definitely a lot of history here. And that match is definitely not going to let us down. I mean, they can go at it. It's like watching, I don't know, what's a good comparison? Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio Jr. Did Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio Jr. ever have a bad match? Even when they were forced to do their quick little 5-minute matches, it was still better than everything you saw that night. I mean, you know, there's just certain people when they get in the ring together, you know, Eddie Guerrero and Benoit, or Jericho and Benoit, Rock and Austin even. Rock and Austin always put on great matches. You know, Brock Lesnar, if you will, and Kurt Angle, they always put on great matches. There's just certain people, man, when they wrestle each other, they just have such great chemistry, and you never get tired of seeing them wrestle each other. And I feel that way about Tanahashi and Okada, and I'm really looking forward to that match. I don't see Tanahashi making it to the finals this year. I mean, he won the whole tournament last year, but I think they're definitely going to work up that shoulder injury. Bad Luck Fale is in the block again. Bad Luck Fale always picks up a win against Tanahashi. I could see Tanahashi, you know, I could see him being Tenzan. I could see him being Tonga. Sonata could get a surprise victory off of Tanahashi. But I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do what they did with Bushi. You know, Bushi really surprised me in the Best of the Super Junior tournament because I thought he was going to put up a lot more points. But really, he was just there to spoil Kushida at the end in a way. You know, so it's gonna be interesting to see how they do Sonata. I don't know, man. I mean, Block A, I only see Okada winning it. I'm like looking at all the names, like, yeah, Ishii, you know, he's been in it before. Goto, Makabe, Marufuji, and Okada, and Tanahashi. They're the top three. And I think the way it's even set up, you have, I forgot who's facing who, but I think right off the bat, I think you have Marufuji against Okada, either in the beginning of the tournament or Marufuji and Tanahashi in the beginning of the tournament, and then you have Marufuji against one of them at the end of the tournament. So I think they're really setting up that it's going to be either Marufuji or Okada in the finals. I also said Kushida was in the finals of the Super Junior tournament. I'm totally wrong. It was Taguchi. It's just we all thought Kushida was going to win it, and then Taguchi won it. But I mean, Taguchi or Kushida were the most likely to get to the finals. They could do that here with Okada, but who would spoil Okada? Would Goto spoil Okada? Would Ishii spoil Okada? I don't know. That'd be kind of interesting to see. Block B is super competitive, and I think Block B holds the winner of the tournament if it's not Okada. A lot of people expect Naito to win it, which would be interesting because if, let's say, Okada keeps the title all the way until the Tokyo Dome show, which I think he will. I think they're going to keep the title. You'll set up another Naito and Okada match. This could be like a double turn. You know, this could be a double turn in the making. Naito with the Los Ingobernables, like, they kind of got squashed at Dominion. You know, I'm not going to lie. Like, they lost all their matches, and Naito lost the championship at his first defense to Okada. Okada regained the championship. But Naito's been getting a lot of fans backing him. There's been a lot of people cheering him, and it's kind of ironic because they were booing him originally. It's kind of like the Roman Reigns thing, except that WWE hasn't pulled the trigger yet on Roman Reigns being heel. But Naito was brought in to be kind of the next Tanahashi, and the fans did not like it. If you don't watch New Japan, Tanahashi equate him to like John Cena, right? So they were trying to make Naito the next Tanahashi, and the fans just were not into it. They were, he won the G1 Climax, and people just saw it. It was so obvious that they were pushing him. So they actually changed it, and Naito would end up losing to Tanahashi at the Tokyo Dome show, and kind of had to like refine his way, and he became heel. He became this great heel, which we saw the beginnings of it really in last year's G1 Climax. And it's been awesome. This whole run of him as heel, he's been a great heel. His first major victory came against Okada after the Tokyo Dome show, but
you thought it was going to be primed for a great run with Naito as this great heel champion, and then he loses. So that tells me that he probably will be the strong favorite to the G1, because maybe they want to give him the G1 this year because now people actually want to see him win, which is interesting because he's supposed to be a bad guy. You know what I mean? So in Japan, usually they don't really root for the bad guys like that they want the bad guys to win. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're setting up Naito and Okada 3 now for the championship at the Tokyo Dome show. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I spoke of Shinya Hashimoto earlier, and I guess I should mention him before I make him tap out to his leg. Hashimoto against Keiji Muto, the 1995 finals. Hashimoto would win the 1998 tournament. It's going to be interesting to see who plays spoiler to Naito. I mean, Naito's going to be facing Evil in the tournament. That's kind of cool. Here I am. I'm giving him his own finisher. I'm giving him the STF. I was working on his legs so much because I kept countering that strong grapple. That's the thing about Hashimoto. He's a really good character to play as. I like playing as him in this game, obviously, because I like Shinya Hashimoto. But he's really kind of easy to counter, and you can really work the leg. And if you're working on his leg, and then you got someone like Chono who could just slap on the STF, which works the leg in this game, you can easily make him tap. So I used that to my advantage throughout the whole match, just countering his strong striking attacks into the automatic submission counters, and gave him his own brainbuster DDT, sort of like as punishment. I'm at 10 points now. I'm definitely in no one's gonna catch up to me territory. There's Kensuke Sasaki picking up his first win, putting some points on the board. He had a losing streak after I beat him, not winning a single match. And now Yamazaki picks up his second loss. So now I'm definitely pretty ahead of the curve. I would have to lose these next 4 matches in a row, really, for a lot of these guys to catch up, because I don't see any one of them just winning the next 4 matches. Usually the AI doesn't go with longer winning streaks than like 3 matches or 4 matches. Here I am against Hiroshi Hase. Hiroshi Hase, speaking of, well, not really, because he was with New Japan when he was in the tournament. He was in the 1993 tournament. That's where he made it to the finals, and I'm really happy for this edit because I made it look like what he did when he wrestled in the finals against Tatsumi Fujinami in the 1993 tournament. This was also another 16-man elimination tournament. Great Muta was actually the IWGP champion at the time, but competed in the tournament as Keiji Muto. Again, Great Muta's awesome. Keiji Muto's awesome. Both Muto and Chono were defeated in the semifinals by Fujinami and Hase, respectively. So 1993, we were definitely going to see someone new, a new face. Chono having won the first 2 years of the G1. And it ended up being Tatsumi Fujinami. Fujinami and Hase had a great match, but Fujinami would win it. And this was a significant win for him because, much like Choshu, he wasn't able to pick up a big tournament win under Antonio Inoki, under the reign of Antonio Inoki. Antonio Inoki won pretty much like every tournament. When he didn't win it, Andre the Giant won it. Even Hogan won it once. So that was a big win for Fujinami. Fujinami wouldn't challenge Hashimoto, who would win the title from Muto at that G1. At the G1 Aftermath event, I should say. They used to have a G1 Aftermath event where a couple of weeks after the G1, they would have some special matches spinning off of the results of the G1 Climax, some new feuds that were debuting. Sometimes you would have the championship bout right then and there from the winner of the tournament, but actually Hashimoto would challenge Muto and lose the title to Hashimoto. So Fujinami wouldn't challenge him until April of 94, so long after the Tokyo Dome show passed. And he would actually win. He would defeat him for the IWGP Championship. So technically, this would be the first G1 Climax winner to challenge for the IWGP Championship and then win it. because Chono failed in his 2 attempts when he won the G1 Climax. So, and Hiroshi Hase, this was his 3rd and final appearance in the G1 Climax. He was in 91, 92, last one in 93. In the 80s and the early 90s, Hase was a staple of New Japan Pro Wrestling, but he would go on to All Japan Pro Wrestling, and we wouldn't see him again at another G1 Climax. And it was Fujinami's only win. So that's what's cool about Hase. You gotta believe Hase was definitely a mayor of Suplex City at one point. Brock Lesnar is the cover star for the WWE 2K16 video game, and during the commercial, Paul Heyman said, there's a line that Paul Heyman says when he's doing the voiceover for the commercial. Brock Lesnar is the 9th. Brock Lesnar is the mayor of Suplex City, 9th times removed. So he's the 9th mayor of Suplex City. So I was like, well, who were the other 8? And you got to believe Hiroshi Hase was one of the mayors of Suplex City. At least I like to think so. Definitely great tag team matches with Hiroshi Hase at Keiji Muto. They had a great tag team. But, going back to the fact that the G1 Climax brings in other stars from other promotions. They brought in, over the years, you'd always have some big names come in through the tournament. I almost wish that Cody Rhodes actually, his time to start wrestling wouldn't be until August, was when he'll start having his first few matches, after he's able, he has to wait a certain amount of time before he can wrestle a match. He's going to be in the Battle of Los Angeles tournament at the PWG promotion. PWG, they do the Battle of Los Angeles. It's kind of like their Best of the Indies tournament. It's kind of like their G1, but they do a single elimination tournament. I was always hoping that Cody Rhodes would actually be involved in the G1 Climax this year, but obviously it takes place before his time runs out for when he can compete. So maybe we'll see Cody Rhodes in next year's G1 as a special guest. But hey, we got Marufuji and Nakajima, so that's not so bad either. I beat Hase. I'm at 12 points. No one's catching up to me, honestly. So I think what's going to happen now is they're going to make me do one more match. And if I win the next match, then it's like absolute, because I could still lose the next 3 matches. And let's say, Muto's got 8 points, Yamazaki's got 8 points. So if they win their next 3 matches and I lose mine, then they still have a chance of winning it. But it's not looking good. And speaking of Fujinami, here he comes. We just had Fujinami and Hase in 1993, and Fujinami's back now. Gonna face Chono. But yeah, if I win this one, it's over. No one's catching up to me, so I'm pretty much gonna end it. Because I don't want this. It's already going on for a little too long, so I don't want it to go even longer. I mean, I'm not gonna be able to face Keiji Muto, and I'm not gonna be able to face, who else haven't I faced? Tenzan. But, there'll be plenty of opportunities for me to do videos on Chono and Muto and Chono and Tenzan. I also want to do something special for the G1 Climax. I'm not mentioning it till the end of the video. I should have mentioned it in the beginning, but while the G1 Climax is going on, I want to upload some classic matches from all the different G1 Climax. I used all the people who were in the finals of the tournament from 91 to 99, but I really would like to actually show some of those matches in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 form. I'm not going to recreate them like hold for hold and move for move, but I wanted to do. So I have a bunch of historic matches uploaded already on my channel from No Mercy and even WrestleMania 2000. It's the only WrestleMania 2000 content I have right now. But I wanted to do, if you guys remember Pop-Up Video, if you don't, that's totally fine. It's totally a thing from the 90s when I was a kid. But, you see it a lot now, even on Facebook and Twitter, the Now This videos, where they highlight news stories that are happening, and it's all just images and video with big bold letters and stuff, just talking about what's happening. So it sums up pretty much all you need to know. So that's becoming kind of big. I relate it to Pop-Up Video because Pop-Up Video back in the day, they used to show you a music video, and then while you're watching the music video, all these little facts would pop up while you watch the video. So if you're watching like Take on Me by Duran Duran, it'd be like I'm so dating myself right now, but if you're watching pop-up video from the 90s and you're watching the 80s music video of Duran Duran, it would show little fun facts like, oh, Duran's first name is whatever. I don't even remember his first name, but it would just talk about facts like how well that song did, how expensive the video was to make, where did they shoot the video, just all these little fun facts and trivia that you might have not known about the video that you're watching. I kind of want to do that with my historic matches because unfortunately I don't have the time to record every night. It'd be great if I could record for every little thing I do, but I don't have the time to do that. So it's really easy for me to record a match. And then what I want to start doing with these historic matches, instead of just uploading the match and writing about it in the description, I want to do like little facts and trivia that pop up during the match. So I want to start that idea with the G1 Climax this year. And every day there's a G1 Climax event going on. Hopefully I'll be able to upload one G1 Climax match. I say this all now. I have a bunch of videos recorded. I haven't actually sat down and started editing them and putting in the facts. But just like how I researched for my Let's Plays, just like for this one, I researched all the different finals for the Let's Plays. I researched what was going on for this year's G1 Climax and the previous G1s. I want to do that with my historic matches, and since I don't have the time to record voiceover for that, I want to just put pop-up videos. I think that'd be easier for people to digest anyway, because if they just want to watch a match real quick, if they just want to watch real quick gameplay from a very historic event that happened in wrestling, they could just watch these matches and put the little pop-up trivia during it, and I think that'd be really cool. So look out for that. Hopefully, if I'm not able to do one every G1 Climax event, I'll at least put up a few. It all depends on my schedule. It all depends on when I get to do these videos. So hopefully I'll have enough time to do that. I wanted to do that with the King of the Ring, actually. Speaking of G1 Climax and speaking of King of the Ring, I wanted to do that. We just passed, some pretty important dates in terms of the King of the Ring tournaments. And I wanted to do that with WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy and even 2K16. I had a whole idea for 2K16 King of the Ring Fantasy Tournament, but I never got around to that. So hopefully I'll probably still get to do that. I got so many ideas, guys. You don't even know. I got ideas for days. I just don't have the days to work on them. That's the only unfortunate thing. But I'm super pumped about this year's G1 Climax. And I scaled back a little bit. I didn't do 3 whole videos like I tried to do last year. That definitely set myself up for failure. But I hope you end up liking this G1 Climax, and I'm definitely super excited. Maybe I'll even do some calls, some Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 calls of some of the modern New Japan wrestlers. You can definitely make some good ones in here, I think. But hopefully I'll get around to doing that and maybe debut some of them, during the G1 Climax tournament. Much like how I've recently been doing, some modern WWE calls for my No Mercy Let's Play. I'm going through the Hardcore Championship, and actually pretty soon, hopefully following this Let's Play, I'll be debuting my Raven call in the Hardcore Championship path for that Let's Play, and that'll be the first time I'm debuting a call to coincide with the topic I'm talking about. So hopefully I'll be able to do that with the G1 as well. But I'm really looking forward to this G1. I hope you're looking forward to this G1. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think is gonna happen in the comments. If hopefully it won't be as easy as this one, because spoiler alert, I'm about to put Tatsumi Fujinami away. He's trying to make a comeback right now. It's very admirable. The dragon is trying to look. He's gonna lock me into the dragon sleeper now. This is nuts. He won't go down. That's why he's one of the greatest of all time. He never backs down. Junior heavyweight, moving on to the heavyweight. Definitely one of the, people talk about like today. It's because of guys like Shawn Michaels. It's because of guys like Daniel Bryan that really paved the way for smaller guys to move up. You gotta look at Tatsumi Fujinami, man. Tatsumi Fujinami is one of the first guys to do that. Start out as a junior heavyweight and then move on to the heavyweight, and that's a much bigger deal in Japan because they take those weight class separations very seriously. I mean, it wasn't until the longest time that it wasn't until like a decade where they actually allowed a junior heavyweight into the tournament. It would be Liger and I think Tatsuhiko Takaiwa were the first entered into a G1. They were special guests, but Tatsumi Fujinami definitely paved the way. So when you think of guys like Michaels and Daniel Bryan and Benoit, yeah, don't forget about Fujinami, okay? Because he was definitely one of the first, winning the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, winning the IWGP Championship. I mean, he would win it 5 times. Like, very impressive for a former junior heavyweight. It's amazing what a couple of extra pounds would do to you. But I'm definitely excited about all the new stories. You know, the G1 Climax. Another thing I like about the G1 Climax is that it kind of like it separates the year, if you will. You know, when you have the storylines coming out after the Tokyo Dome show, leading up into the G1 Climax, that's like 1 year. Or like 1/2 of the year of storylines, right? So then after the G1 Climax, that's like the road to WrestleMania, pretty much. This is now setting up the road to the Tokyo Dome show. It's almost like, you know, we're coming up to SummerSlam now. Pretty much the aftermath of everything that happened at WrestleMania leads up to SummerSlam. And SummerSlam is supposed to be the big payoff. Unfortunately, WWE has a lot more dates and shows. So we have a weird gap from SummerSlam to like Royal Rumble, really. And Royal Rumble kickstarts the road to WrestleMania. You know, the Japanese schedule is a little bit more concise, which I prefer it that way. I kind of wish WWE had that kind of format, but they're too deep. There's no way they're ever gonna change their schedule and change how they do the format of their pay-per-views. If anything, they're gonna be adding more with this draft. They're gonna have double the amount of events every month, culminating after like 4 weeks of Raw and SmackDown, which is great. They definitely have a lot of wrestlers and a lot of talent that could use all the time. But the Japanese schedule, I think there's a reason why their storylines stick out more because, I mean, or at least the matches stick out more because they're payoffs to storylines where we only see these guys wrestle each other 1 or 2 times a year, if even, you know what I mean? Some guys who meet in the G1, they haven't been ever before in New Japan one-on-one, and they probably won't meet again for another couple of years. So that's what makes it very interesting when you have these matchups, and especially when you have guests coming in from other promotions. I mean, I just can't get enough of the G1 Climax. It's definitely one of my favorite tournaments in a year of so many other tournaments happening. We have the Cruiserweight Championship, we have the Super J Cruiserweight Championship, the Cruiserweight Classic, which is starting in a couple of days. We have the Super J Cup, which is happening right around the time of the G1. So you better believe I'm gonna do a Super J Cup Let's Play, because I'm super excited about that. No pun intended. Just so much great wrestling. How, you know, I always end my Let's Plays and all my videos with, you know, a tag that I'm trying to help push, you know, to keep watching all the wrestling. And I'm definitely trying to subscribe to that too. When I say that, I don't want you to think, you know, spend all day every day just watching wrestling and watching all types of wrestling, because honestly there's so much wrestling out there. Unless that's like your full-time occupation is just to watch wrestling, there's no way you're gonna watch all the wrestling. But what I mean is, you know, branch out. Don't just watch one show. You know what I mean? Don't just watch Raw and then the events that happen. You know, I used to call them pay-per-views, but we can't even call them pay-per-views anymore. The specials, if you will. Don't just watch like Raw and then you watch Raw every week and then you watch Payback and then you watch Raw every week and then you watch Money in the Bank. Like, don't just do that. You know, watch NXT. Watch Lucha Underground. Watch SmackDown, even if you're not even watching that. Watch some AAA, some CMLL. You can definitely find clips on that on YouTube. Ring of Honor, PWG. You know, a lot of great indie stuff is happening right now. New Japan Pro Wrestling, but that's not the only Japanese wrestling. There's Noah, there's All Japan, DDT, Evolve, another great indie, Progress, a UK promotion. Just watch it all, because when you have these big tournaments from people from all walks of life, like the Cruiserweight Classic, like the G1, like the Super J Cup, when you're more familiar with all these faces, it's definitely going to make the tournaments matter more, and it's definitely going to show how beautiful wrestling can be in terms of global storytelling. So very exciting stuff, very exciting time to be a wrestling fan. So on that note, Masahiro Chono winning the G1 special
if you will, for the G1 2016 preview and predictions. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your predictions and previews. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. And once again, I am Be Better Gamer, and as always, keep watching all the wrestling. Thank you.